What happened to employee loyalty toward the corporation? Well, from 1950s to 1990, here in America and throughout Western industrialized nations, we did have employee loyalty toward the corporation. That did exist. By the time of 1990, it was all gone. What happened? What enabled corporations to receive true, authentic loyalty from their employees? Right? You're not going to get loyalty for nothing. You can't just stand in front of people and say, hey, I demand your loyalty. No, you're not going to get it. People are going to tell you to get lost, right? What enabled employees to feel true loyalty toward the corporation was pension. And what made loyalty disappear was pension reform. You see, the name of the pension from 1950 to 1990 was called defined benefit. After 1990, it became defined contribution. So under defined benefit, let's say it's now 1950, okay? You came to Pan Am to get a job. You're 18 years old. And Pan Am looks at your resume and interviews you and say, hey, yeah, you look like a good boy. So come and work for us for 40, 50 years, your entire life. And then when you retire, Pan Am, we Pan Am will give you a pension out of Pan Am's pocket. We're going to pay you fixed dollar amount linked with inflation. And we're going to pay you from the day you retire to the day you die. And after you die, we're going to pay your wife until she dies. And everyone went, wow, what a sweet deal. Sign me up. Okay? And that life did happen to many, many people. But if you compare those lucky guys to the rest of humanity throughout human history, that was a tiny, 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 tiny minority. Everyone else, here in America or rest of the world, throughout human history, everybody worked until the day they died. And also many people died before their retirement age. Back in 1776, if you fell off your horse in Philadelphia in winter at night, and then the horse kicked you in the head, there's no ambulance. There's no cell phone to call ambulance, right? You just died. And then that was just normal. Nobody would ever complain. There would be no lawsuit, okay? So anyway, so that lucky lifestyle, it did happen to some people for 40 years, and it's a minority number of people compared to the rest of humanity. And then it all disappeared around 1990. Why? Well, here's a math problem. For starters, when they first designed this pension system in the 1950s, life expectancy was much, much shorter. They were expecting you to die maybe 2 years after you retire. They were going to use you up. Your mind, body, spirit. You're going to be completely used up. And then you're going to live for 2 more years after your retirement. And then your wife will live 2 more years, and then she will die. And that's the end of that. Pan Am is no longer on the hook to pay and pay and pay. Now, fast forward to the 80s and 90s, or today, 2019, thanks to advancement in the science of medicine, we're living so much longer, right? We just refuse to die. If you go on living another 40 years after your retirement, Pan Am is on the hook to pay and pay and pay. So imagine a company with 1,000 employees working, but they have a retirement, 10,000 people who are retired over the past whatever few decades. And there's 1,000 people working are supposed to support these 10,000 people who are retired over the past whatever years. It ain't gonna happen. It's driving all these legacy corporations out of business. So they changed everything around 1990 from defined benefit to defined contribution. Now, the way it works with defined contribution is you come here, be a good boy, right? Work, work, work. Every month, out of your pay, the corporation is going to cut out a certain dollar amount, a percentage. And then that dollar amount is going to contribute to your retirement. Well, where does the money go? Essentially, they use it to gamble in the biggest casino in the world, right? They call it investing, which is euphemism for gambling in the biggest casino called the Wall Street. If they win, they keep the winning, and you keep your original. If they lose, you lose. Like the 2001 financial meltdown. Enron, Canlay, accounting fraud. If they really, really lose, big time, like the 2008 financial meltdown, they call it, we the banks, we are too big to fail. Politicians will pass laws to force taxpayers to come and bail out the banks. All of those bankers should have gone to prison for 1,000 years, but instead of going to prison, they all lived happily ever after on our money, on your retirement money. So without a pension, how can a corporation expect employees to feel true loyalty toward the corporation? With a pension, with a fixed dollar amount linked with inflation, that was what the corporation was able to enable employee loyalty toward the corporation. This is why we used to have phenomena like, hey, my dad, my uncle, he had the same job for 40 or 50 years. It was a job that he hated, but he held on to it for 40 or 50 years. And then he retired at the age of 65, 66 or whatever. And life starts at the age of 66, 65, 67. All right. I worked for a job I hated for 40 years. Now I'm retired. Life will start now. I'm going to buy an RV, roam around the country, follow the sun. I'm going to buy a boat. I'm going to get on the water. I'm going to buy a hot rod. I'm going to fix it. I'm going to whatever. Life starts now at the age of retirement. That was back then. Today, young 25-year-olds, okay, even their parents, 50-year-olds, even their parents have not experienced pension from the corporation. Therefore, even their parents have no notion of loyalty toward the corporation. So how can you expect a 25-year-old to feel loyalty toward the corporation? And this is also why we have 85-year-old working as a Walmart grader. If you see great-grandpa working as a Walmart grader, it makes no sense, right? Why are you working? You're 85 years old. Well, something happened to his pension around 2001 or 2008. Highly likely 2001, if you do the math. Remember I was telling about Enron, 2001, Enron, Kenley? Okay. I had an Enron employee in my leadership seminar. He raised his hand and he said, yeah, I was an Enron employee. All of my finances was through Enron. I lost everything. My cash, my money, my cars, my house, my credit, my wife, my marriage, I lost everything, right? That's what happened during the 2001 financial meltdown. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Google it. And the fixed dollar amount pension was what enabled corporations to receive true loyalty from the corporation. And this is also why back then in the 1950s, being a manager was relatively speaking so much easier. And all you had to do was to be a one-trick pony with one trick only, which is be a tyrant. My way or the highway. If you don't like it, let me show you where the door is. And back then, every employee was interested in longevity of employment, lifetime employment with one employer only from 18 to 68, and then retire with a pension with a fixed dollar amount. So if some employee is 55 years old, it's really easy to threaten them with termination, and the employees will comply. Because imagine at the age of 55, after working for the same corporation for decades and decades and decades, he's now fired. It's going to be extremely difficult for him to find employment elsewhere, because every employer will look at his resume and go, what's the matter with you? You can't hold on for another 10 more years? You couldn't just be a little bit more flexible, bend over and just endure another 10 more years? You're going to get a pension? Well, there must be something wrong with you. So if they don't want you, we don't want to hire you either. So every employee was scared. Life was easier being a manager, just be a tyrant. Today, not so much. If you're going to conduct yourself like a tyrant of a manager to a younger employee who is a knowledge worker, well, they're just going to quit. What are you going to do about it? Nothing. There's nothing you can do about it. They say, I quit. You go, where are you going? And you go, well, back to my mama's basement. Do what? Well, play computer game. For how long? Well, I don't care. The rest of my life, I don't care. Okay? So you can't be a tyrant of a manager. You have to be an inspirational leader to inspire them. And the good news is, even though they have no loyalty toward the corporation, it is still possible to inspire loyalty, personal loyalty, out of your employees toward you the individual, you the person, you the honest, sincere human being, you the best manager, the best boss, even though they may have no loyalty toward the corporation. And the way you do it is you help them to realize they have the ability themselves, which, well, I guess we're going to be talking about that in the next video. Stay tuned, right? In the meantime, if you need coaching, right, just send me an email, and don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button, and also hit the notification button when you subscribe. This way, when I release a brand new coaching video, you'll be notified, you'll be the first one to learn. You need your competitive edge. All right, until next time, keep on learning. Coach Michael Lin signing out.